Welcome, everyone, to the Fandom Podcast Network special presentation of the Hair Metal Podcast. Hair Metal Podcast looks back at the thrash, rock, glam, and pop metal bands, music, events, and everything that heavily influenced the 80s and early 90s hair metal era of music. We are proud to discuss the nostalgia of 80s hair metal, and we've got a special one here for you guys. This is Hair Metal Podcast episode 29, discussing Ozzy Osbourne, a tribute and celebration. This is the Hair Metal Podcast here on the Fandom Podcast Network. If you're watching this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, check out our website here on the Fandom Podcast Network QR code there. If you're watching the video, click on that. That'll take you to all of our audio podcasts under the Fandom Podcast Network umbrella, including our Hair Metal Podcast. We cover all of it here, guys, on hair metal, and please welcome to Hair Metal Podcast episode 28. Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning is what we did last week. Well, not last week, but the last episode. We had a very special guest, Johnny K, on there. But we are doing the new tribute here to Ozzy. It has been a while, but a lot of stuff is happening, so that's why we've waited. But let's welcome my co-host and guest to the Hair Metal Podcast. Please welcome my co-host, Mr. Michael Simmer. What's up, buddy?
What's up, Kevin? Yeah, I don't know, but we're flying high again on this crazy train and ready to bark at the moon. And maybe it's not too late to learn how to love and forget how to hate.
I see what you did there. Just so you know, my buddy Kyle, who's my co-host, and my co-founder of the Fandom Podcast Network, he does that with our Time Warp podcast with all the movies we're about to cover. So well done.
All right.
Well, you've got some. We have our Hair Metal Council that is joining us this time, and I thought you could lead the charge here and get our council in here, because I miss these guys. We got some metal to talk about, including a special guest.
Yes, well, I saw him today, so let's bring in Nez. He's our resident standby always.
Welcome, Nez. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to see you guys are still looking healthy.
Yeah, buddy. Welcome to the show. Now, who else we got there, Mike?
And we also have the person who's always with us, Dick Damien.
What's up, Dick? Welcome.
How you guys doing?
Dick and I are growing the hair out one last time.
I can see that.
Since we still got it, you know.
Feels good.
All right, now we are not done here because here at the Hair Metal Podcast, we're celebrating something very special. We are celebrating Ozzy Osbourne and doing a little tribute and celebration to him. But we're also going to be discussing Back to the Beginning a little bit more. Now, if you check out the last podcast that I talked to, our good friend Johnny, he live streamed it. Simmer did as well. And I went out and actually bought the physical media copy here. And I'll be talking about this a little bit more. There's a reason why we're going to be going back to this, because first of all, we want to get Dick and Nez's thoughts on the highlights and the show itself, because it was such a very important event in metal history. We can debate probably the best or most important event in metal history. But Mike, you brought to my attention, a guy. You know a guy that was actually there. Who is this guy?
Yeah, we met at the recent Ghost show. And he's a friend of a business associate of mine, and just got to talking. And as we found out, we are sort of on the same wavelength as metal, and we got to talking a little bit more. And I found out he had been to the Back to the Beginning show, and I asked him if he would like to join us. And of course, he was more than welcome to do it. And his name is Justin.
Justin, welcome to the Hair Metal Podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network, brother. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
I'm really excited to pick your brain because we're going to have some questions here for obvious reasons. And I want to, first of all, thank you for coming on. And we got some pictures we're going to show, a couple of videos as well. You having been to this concert is a big deal. We're going to touch on it a little bit later. So thank you for being here.
Appreciate you having me.
All right. Now, before we go any further, I want to give you guys an episode, a little rundown of what we're going to discuss on this episode of the Hair Metal Podcast. Our special tribute to Ozzy here. We're going to do some reactions to the Back to the Beginning concert that was held at Villa Park in Birmingham, UK, July 5th, 2025. We'll do a quick little set list rundown of who participated in this. And of course, we'll have some firsthand experience discussion with our special guest, Justin here. Then we're going to get into the death and funeral of Ozzy, our reactions to that. That happened weeks after this final performance, unfortunately. Then we're going to get into this Ozzy documentary called No Escape from Now. It was premiered on Paramount Plus. It is still streaming there on October 7th is when it first premiered. Then we're going to get into how things kind of came full circle here because some events that happened at this concert came to fruition, and also Ozzy was honored again at the 2026 Grammy Awards that honored Ozzy with an all-star tribute that happened on Sunday, February 1st, 2026. So we'll get our thoughts on that. And then we're going to talk about Youngblood because he gets honored in this. We'll talk about that a little bit more. And then we're going to wrap things up with a little bit of fun here and a little tribute to Ozzy here. Is we're going to give our Mount Rushmore of Ozzy/Black Sabbath songs. Now, what that means is Mount Rushmore has 4 faces on there. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and spot you one on the Mount Rushmore already, and that is going to be the song Crazy Train. Because with the majority of fans, Crazy Train is the most popular song. So if it was not on Mount Rushmore, people would be upset. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to start up there. It's going to be grandfathered in there. So my job for you guys and for you that are listening and watching, you're going to pick 3 songs. They are either Ozzy solo songs or Ozzy was when he was with Black Sabbath, not 3 Ozzy and then 3 Black Sabbath ones, 3 total. So start thinking about that. Start crossing stuff off. Did someone say no duets? Is that right?
That's what I said.
No duets.
So obviously no Lita Ford duet. Was there another duet that I don't know about? I'm forgetting.
Post Malone.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
There's a couple of later ones. Yeah.
There's a couple later ones. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No duets. I like that. Okay.
And no
right,
Jimmy
guys.
Page either.
Well, guys, let's go ahead. I'm going to get into a little quick of what's been happening here on the Hair Metal Podcast. Now, we've been busy here on the Hair Metal Podcast. You can check it out on YouTube and here on the Fandom Podcast Network. Some of the previous episodes we have was number 20, where we talked about bands that should have been a lot bigger. We also covered an episode 21, Van Halen's For Unlawful Carnal Knowledge album. And we also talked about Sammy Hagar's Van Halen tribute tour. And we also did kind of a twofer here. We did our Hair Metal Podcast Steel Dragon Rockstar movie soundtrack. And then Mike and I jumped over and did a Couch Potato Theater where we discussed the movie itself. By the way, Mike, that's one of our most streamed episodes next to a Van Damme Hard Target one. For some reason, that one just blew up. It's almost at 10,000 views.
There's some strange bedfellows there.
But yeah, that Rockstar one, that one hit a chord there. So that was great. We also did a very fun podcast here where we did our Hair Metal Podcast episode 22, 1989 Hair Metal Supergroup Draft, where we picked our 5-member supergroup. Everyone had to be alive during 1989, and this is where we learned the legend that is Bobby Durango, thanks to Nez. Mike and I also did our episode 24 of Hair Metal, where we talked about Hearing Aid, the all-star album tribute for famine relief. That was a lot of fun. And recently we also did Best Cover Songs by Hair Metal Era Bands. That was episode 25. And one of my favorites is episode 26. We did the VH1 Top 40 Hair Bands. We talked about that special from 2001, compared it, but then we picked our top 10, and we had to agree on our top 10, but we used a sleaze meter to figure out who was going to break into the top 10. That was a lot of fun. And we also checked out our favorite hair metal legend bands, and we picked the top 2 best-selling albums and decided which one was best. And then, Mike, you had a friend of yours come over, and we did Couch Potato Theater for Spinal Tap. Who's your buddy again?
You're on mute, Bobby A. Yeah, Bobby A. came over, and he's still talking about that. He's still
we need to get him on something else because he was great. That was
he is a Jaws. Well, if you do a Jaws one, he's the most American werewolf in London, right, Nez? I mean, there's no one who knows more than about those than he does.
I might have to get him in for the American Werewolf in London because my wife and I were thinking about doing that for Halloween next year, maybe.
Oh my God. His head would explode. He's going to take that about 6 hours. That podcast.
I gotta say, he visited all of the locations he could in London when he went.
Nice,
including the nurse's house.
Right.
That's some good shit right there. I like that. And then most recently, episode 28, we did Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning. We did that podcast. And what was really weird about that, Mike, was that literally 3 days later, Ozzy passed away. It was a gut punch for all of us. So that's why we're doing this one here for our tribute to Ozzy Osbourne here on episode 29 of the Hair Metal Podcast. So we'll get into all that a little bit later, guys. But let's go ahead and get on with the show. All right, let's get into this. Is the Back to the Beginning concert here, guys. It was held Saturday, July 5th, 2025 at Villa Park in Birmingham. It was the final show. A lot of the big headliners were, of course, Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Metallica, Slayer, Pantera, Gojira, Hailstorm, Alice in Chains, Lamb of God, Anthrax, Mastodon, and many, many more. It was streaming live. I think you could. Yeah, I think it was. What was it? $39.95 or $34.95. And it was a big deal of the setup and the release of this thing here, guys. And also, too, they're planning on doing a concert film eventually, but this was streaming online. And I did want to take a moment before we get into our first reactions to this is when we had Johnny K on for the last podcast talking about this concert, he made a suggestion to check eBay. So for those, I know you can find a lot of it on YouTube. I think it's still streaming pretty much most of it. Some of it might have been pulled. I'm not sure. But because it went to charity, I think they kept it up for a while. But I don't know if you guys have checked eBay lately, but I ended up buying this one here. Actually bought two. And then I kind of combined them into a full 4-disc set here. I like this one because it includes all of the artists and who played on every single song. But they're still selling them on eBay, and I think I got mine for like $35 for one and maybe $40 for another. Totally worth it. And I spent all day on a Saturday watching it like everyone else was live at the time. So I wanted to kind of get the feel. They even do chapters. They don't edit out a lot of the sound mishaps and mess ups and stuff. It's raw, and I highly recommend watching it this way because it feels like that you were there. But before we go any further, Justin, you're a special guest here, and I want to ask you something. Tell me, first of all, how did you hear about this? And tell me about how you acquired your travel and tickets.
So we first heard about it, I guess, on Instagram. They were advertising it somewhat on Instagram, and I saw it. And then we saw the tickets went on sale pretty fast, maybe a week or two after they actually announced it. So initially, I tried to get tickets on the pre-sale, and I wasn't able to get tickets. And my friend got 2 tickets, which were up in the stands. In the general sale, I woke up at we had to wake up 3 o'clock in the morning because it was I think going on sale at 5 a.m. UK time. So we had to get on the internet and go on Ticketmaster app. And the second time, I just got extremely lucky, and I got 2 tickets in the Golden Circle, which is the very front area. So there's only maybe about 3,000 or 4,000 people in there, and it was pretty terrific. So me and 2 of my friends, we decided to go. We took a trip over there, and that was it.
Question for you: you don't have to tell us, but how much did each ticket cost you?
I think it was something like 596 euros, if I remember correctly.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow,
and that's actually pretty good. No, it wasn't bad at all. And the thing was, you couldn't resell them. And you could only buy them in units of 2. So that was your only option. So no matter where you're sitting, you only buy 2 seats, and you could not resell them. So, when we eventually got to the concert, I wasn't able to use my second Golden Circle ticket. So I wasn't even able to sell it. I just had to sell it back to Ticketmaster like a week before the concert. So some other lucky fan got to go.
Wow.
Yeah, the UK for a long time has told Ticketmaster you're not allowed to resell tickets. So it's different than in the UK than it is here. So I think all their shows you can't resell tickets.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that actually because then it cuts down on the the high price scalping and all that kind of stuff there. So go back to how you arranged your travel and where you stayed and such, and then we'll get into the more concert stuff a little bit later on.
So I'd never been to London or the UK at all. So I flew in about a week early, and I stayed in London, toured around London for about a week. And then the day before the show, we took a train up to Birmingham. We call it the UK versus India cricket match. So they were like in the middle of a cricket series or whatever it's called. We took that picture you're looking at right there on the Black Sabbath bridge, and we stayed at a hotel. The hotels in Birmingham, were kind of limited, but we ended up getting in luckily to a hotel through my credit card. They sold out pretty fast. So yeah, we went up there, and then the next morning I woke up about 10 a.m., had breakfast, got ready, and then I headed over to the venue. I think it started the show at Mastodon approximately 1 p.m. And I got there about 12:15, and there was already a significant amount of people there.
What was the buzz like prior to you getting to the event around this for this?
Everyone in that town pretty much that was there and in the vicinity of all the hotels, because all the hotels are pretty centrally located in Birmingham. So everyone was there. Everyone was, wearing their Black Sabbath Ozzy gear. Everyone obviously really excited. And I think there's another concert going on there at the same time. So, they're not the same venue, but there was another concert going on there, not The Cure or something like that. But so there's like the whole city was kind of just buzzing with the whole Black Sabbath thing. And it was and even when we were in London, we would see fans walking around on our flight out there. There's a bunch of people wearing Black Sabbath shirts. So, we weren't the only ones coming from the US.
That's
fantastic. You have any idea what that stadium held? Because it doesn't look that big.
I think the total people there were 52,000. It was much smaller than I thought it was.
That's a good amount. That's definitely a good amount.
Yeah, that's a good amount.
All right. Well, I want to get into. I'm just going to mention the artists that performed here. Not all the songs that they did, just the artist. And then Dick and Nez, I want to get your guys' thoughts on the concert itself or the highlights that you may have seen. So it starts off with Mastodon. Then it's followed by Rival Sons, Anthrax, Hailstrom, Lamb of God. And then you get the supergroup with Lizzie Hale, Nuno Betancourt, Jakey Lee, David Ellison, Michael Bourdin, and Adam Wakeman. And you got songs, of course, like Ultimate Sin, Shot in the Dark. Dave Draymond comes on. Nuno, and we'll get into Nuno a little bit later, but Nuno's like jumping in on all this. Scott Ian. Then you get Whitfield Crane. He comes in for songs. Frank Bello. Then we get, of course, the big one here. We'll go in this more later. Changes with Youngblood singing with Nuno Betancourt, Frank Bello, and Adam Wakeman. Then we get Mr. Crowley with Jack Black, plus Rebel Ian, Roman Morello. These are the kids and the other musicians that he videos in on. And then we get Alice in Chains. Gojira. Is it Gojira? How do you say it?
Gojira.
Gojira. Okay. It's like trying to say Worcestershire sauce. I'm never confident every time I say it. So. Then there's a drum off with Chad, Travis, Danny, Tom, then Nuno and Rudy Sarzo jump in. Then we get another super group with Billy Corgan, Tom Morello, KK Downing, Adam Jones, Rudy Sarzo, Danny Carey. We also get, Sammy Hagar comes in. And then we get, we get the Mr. Man from Papa from Ghost. He comes in and does a tune with Vernon Reed, and Nuno is there as well. Travis Barker. Then we get Train Kept a Rolling with Steven Tyler, Ron Wood, Nuno, Tom, Andrew Watt, Rudy, and Travis are in on that one. Then they do Walk This Way. Then we get Pantera. They do 4 songs themselves. Then we get Tool with 3 songs. Then we get Slayer with looks like 5 songs. Then Guns N' Roses comes on there with 5 songs. Metallica comes in with looks like 6 songs. Then Ozzy comes in and does I Don't Know, Mr. Crowley, Suicide Solution, Mama, I'm Coming Home, and Crazy Train. And then Black Sabbath ends the show with War Pigs, NIB, Iron Man, and Paranoid. What a set. All right, Nez, I want to go with you. What were your reactions to what you've seen on this show of this whole concert here? I want to get your overall thoughts.
I think the first thing that I did see of it was Anthrax, because I was actually traveling. I was driving the whole day, and they were uploading stuff on YouTube and I remember being at a restaurant and I watched Anthrax and I thought they absolutely crushed it. They were amazing. I was blown away by Steven Tyler because he had to cancel the 50th anniversary tour. So it was his first public outing. And I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that because of his awesome performance, Aerosmith are thinking about doing a final show at up in Boston. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but
So they're not doing the tour; they're just looking at doing one more show.
right at where the Red Sox play. They're supposed to
Right.
play there or something like that. I thought that was fantastic. It was really uplifting to see him. I love Randy Rhoads, but I really do like Jake E. Lee a lot. So
Yeah, me too.
When that happened, and I don't know if he was lost. I remember I was like watching it and like saying, "Where the hell is he?" But just thinking it was like deliberate to just kind of. I don't know. It's Jake E. Lee. The big band.
Where is Jake E. Lee? Jake E.
Right,
Lee.
right. I mean, Slayer are just magnificent live. I love the songs Metallica chose because I think "Hole in the Sky."
Hole in the Sky, Creeping Death,
Yeah.
For Whom the Bells Toll, Johnny Blade, Battery, and Master of Puppets.
Right, like Johnny Blade was curious because if I'm not wrong, I think that's off of Never Say Die. I think
so too.
I think it's off of Never Say Die, and I know Guns N' Roses also did Junior's Eyes off of Never Say Die, so it was kind of a curious thing because that album is unfortunately slagged, but I actually don't mind that album, and I think the most surprising thing is that no band nor Black Sabbath played the song Black Sabbath. And I don't know how that happened. And it's just weird to me. And if
GNR had Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, but
but nobody did Black Sabbath. And I know we're gonna really speak in like glowing terms of everything, but I would have swapped out NIB and ended my career. So I know he ended with Paranoid, but I would have left the stage playing Black Sabbath. Like
these are the things we want to hear from you guys that weren't on the last podcast of stuff that because we didn't get No More Tears at all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just blown away, because there was a big thing about Back to the Beginning. And it was like, that was ground zero of everything. It's the name of the goddamn band, for Christ's sake. And they did not play that song. And thinking of like Ozzy's ability at that moment, that would have been a very, I think, I don't want to say easy, but a song that he wouldn't have had a problem pulling off, to like do that. But to take the heat off of Oz, I really was like this for Sammy Hagar. He did not know Flying High Again. He didn't. It was clear, like he read it on his jet over, and then also, I am going to punch Sammy for a minute because the fart of a song, Rock Candy. All these other bands bringing it, and he's just like, "Here's my song from '70, Rock Candy." And it's like boring as shit. So if Sammy's listening. Blew it, Sammy. Halfway through the show, you are a downer, absolute downer.
Yeah, he didn't sound good. I'll get to that. I think it was it you, Mike, or was it Johnny was saying in the last episode though, was that it's really tough to sing like Ozzy and to sing his songs and to get it right.
It is. Yeah, it is. It totally is. Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of these performers didn't have a lot of prep time, So I'm willing to forgive them.
What do you mean they didn't have prep time? The guy's been around for 50 fucking years.
I'm talking about the song and the arrangement of doing, one of these songs live. That's what I'm talking about.
They're professionals. They're professionals.
Dude, Kevin, if I told you tomorrow you had to go sing Crazy Train somewhere at karaoke, would you know it? Yeah,
but I would sound like shit personally, but yeah.
There are not a lot of covers that are out there that people like listen to that are Ozzy covers. Like it is hard to like get it right.
But Hagar didn't know the words, and he was out of time. Like he wasn't delivering that song. It wasn't his pitch. It was just like
his voice was cracking a little bit too.
What we will do though is I'm going to ask you guys your favorite performance a little bit later though. But Dick, let's get to you, sir. What were what was your reaction to the show? Overall reaction here.
I liked all the guitar work. Like I liked watching Nuno, Jakey Lee, Scott Ian. I did like Steven Tyler, and I agree with Nez about ending with Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
It's like when you read the book, it's like East of Eden, how it ends with the word, and it could have been the perfect ending for that. And I do agree with him. But I wanted to talk about who didn't go.
Yeah, go for it.
You know, like I was reading Judas Priest, certainly Rush, but Motley Crue said they couldn't make it. Wolfgang was listed, but then did not show up. And I don't know how they would have played in with all the people that were there. But
Judas Priest was on tour, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
that's right. They couldn't make it.
Yeah, and
they don't get another chance.
Yeah, and Crew was doing their residency in Vegas at the time.
Take a couple of days off.
I know, right? Or at least phone it in. Make it
then there's a couple other ones, but like I don't know that Rush fits into the band list. But they were there. Robert Plant was invited but did not show up or could not come. I think that would have been great, and I would have liked to have heard more of a medley of vocalists with Ozzy. Somewhere, even at the end, that could have been the end. That could have been everybody helping on Black Sabbath.
Yeah, like an all-star jam type of situation. Yeah.
Like the videos of him singing, like sitting and it's obviously very difficult. And for him to keep singing the way he was singing, it could have been great to have sort of a team behind him, working with him.
Yeah, I mean, you could tell that he was giving it all he got, and maybe that was one reason why they didn't do a few other songs like Sabbath, Black Sabbath, and No More Tears. Mike, I want to go to you real quick here. I know you've given a lot of your thoughts on the previous one, but I was wondering if there's anything that came up since then that you wanted to discuss regarding the performances overall.
No, I think when we talked about it last time, I said that, it was really special for someone who's a Tool fan, not a huge Tool fan, but a Tool fan like myself, because you don't see pro shot footage of Tool hardly ever anywhere. They're very guarded with their concert footage. So seeing Tool in a pro shot video was unbelievable to me.
Nice.
I will tell you that even though I'm a huge Ghost fan, Papa did not sing Bark at the Moon very well. And I think when we discussed that, that's a song that you have to sing almost exactly like Ozzy, and his voice just didn't match there. I would say that Nez, I would agree with Sammy Hagar. Steven Tyler he was like shot out of a cannon. He came on the stage and you could tell he's been itching for that moment for a while, right?
Yeah.
He hits that stage and he's off. And he's shot out of a cannon. He was amazing. I'll give Metallica some credit, even though it pains me to do so. And everyone was really. Slayer was great. I like Gojira a lot. I sort of was exposed to them after the last Olympics when they played at the Paris Olympics, and then Nuno was just fantastic. I mean, just crazy fantastic. And I will tell you, Nez. There was some stuff with Jakey Lee where he said he wasn't able to play some stuff because he was still recovering from that gunshot. So he wasn't going to play. What was it? Shot in the Dark, I think, or Ultimate Sin. He was supposed to play, and he said he couldn't pull it off.
Well, yeah. I think he's on them both. As far
but
he has something. He has something with his hands too.
Yeah, he didn't play the Bark at the Moon solo.
Oh, okay. He did.
He let Nuno do that.
Yeah, he said he couldn't pull that off because of his hand with the injury. And, I really do think that there was probably more songs that they were going to play with Sabbath and with Ozzy. But when Ozzy was playing Mama, I'm Coming Home, there was a second there where Zach said he didn't think Ozzy was going to be able to sing it. And he started adjusting the mic, Zach did, for him to sing it. And I think that when that'll happen, they started to cut some songs, because there was another song that we said that I forget what it was. That there was a Black Sabbath song that nobody played and it wasn't played. And I don't know if it was Black Sabbath or was there another song that they didn't play. So I think that there was some stuff, and then Ozzy's health was like he can't do anything more.
Yeah.
So maybe they were going to play Black Sabbath and then they couldn't.
So I think when I went back and looked at some of the performances. I think Slayer was they just killed it. I mean,
Mm.
I could have kept watching more of Slayer, and it feels like, I don't know if this was their third retirement tour or whatever it was, but I did go to the so-called last one. I remember seeing it in the Atlanta area. It was a great show, and yes, Lamb of God did open up for them. Um,
I was at that.
I liked Metallica. I thought Metallica was good. And Pantera, definitely. There was definitely a lot of highlights. I really enjoyed the supergroup stuff. Really, it was just fun seeing all these other bands coming up, and I felt Steven Tyler, with the energy that he had when he came out, reminded me when during that Guns N' Roses pay-per-view event in 1991 or 92 in Paris. And Steven Tyler and Joe Perry came on and performed with him on that. Cause I remember I recorded it on VHS and I still have that concert. And every now and then I see pictures of it from the internet, but it reminded me of how Steven Tyler just came out and did his stuff. And it was great. And, it's good to see Ron Wood too, just see him walking around and still up and about. All right, Justin, I want to get to you. You've been very patient. I want to thank you here. Obviously I've got a couple of videos I want to show here, but before we get into some of the highlights, especially who you're mosh pitting with and stuff like that, I want to get your overall feeling of the event, because you were there, dude. And we're all very envious. And the fact that you made arrangements and you'd never been to the UK before. I've been there several times. I could have given you some pointers if I knew, but man, this is like one of those dreams of people talking about, like, I need to see my favorite performer. I don't care where in the world it is. I'm going to make this happen. So when you look back at the whole thing here, was there a certain performance or moments that jumped out to you?
So it was really big for me because I had never seen Ozzy or Black Sabbath live. In addition to that, Gojira I had never seen live before. Rival Sons, I wasn't even really familiar with their work. Mastodon I had not seen live before. All the other bands I'd seen live before. The performance that really stood out to me, which kind of changed the whole, I want to say, trajectory of the concert, the whole feeling of it, and maybe just because everyone started to get there as well, was when Gojira came on and they brought in Marina Vittori, I think her name is, the Italian opera singer. For I forget, I'm blanking on the name. Say whatever that song is from the Olympics. That was a real highlight for me to be able to see that live. They sang that beautifully. They're absolutely spectacular musicians, all of them in that band. And to what Mike was saying, it's to see Tool. I've seen them before, but to see them and be able to actually record them and have like video of that, be able to watch back was really cool. I'm by far my favorite metal band is Metallica. I've seen them like 7 or 8 times. And I know Mike's not going to like that, but
that's right. Mike and I go back and forth on Metallica. I love Metallica. He doesn't. So,
yeah, I still make fun of ours, just like everyone else, and Kirk too, but seeing Metallica, that was the tightest I've ever heard them, because I'd seen them on the M72 tour, I guess for 4 shows total.
Wow.
And they were a little bit all over the place, because I think it's kind of the layout of the stage being a circle. One of the lowlights you're showing right there is those beach balls were bouncing on my head the entire day, and it got old after about 3 or 4 hours.
Okay, so real quick, pause on that one. So I have a picture on the video here, and if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you check out the video. These gigantic beach balls that say Ozzy Osbourne on them. How heavy were those?
They were heavy. Number one, you didn't see them coming, and there were a lot of them. So I was right up front. I was probably maybe between 5 to 10 people deep, from the barricade. So, you're just out there, you're watching, all of a sudden you're getting whacked in the head with them. So, it was fun for a little bit. I had them at the M72 tour too. Metallica did those things with the beach balls.
Does it make those dodgeball sounds when they hit something really hard?
No, they're kind of soft. So what happens is it goes and absorbs around your whole head. So it like bounces off your head. You don't see it coming. It's like after the 5th or 6th time it hits your head, it gets annoying. So that was those are some of my highlights. Personally, also, I'd never seen Hailstorm either. I didn't love the performance of Perry Mason, but that's the song that got me into Ozzy. I was born in '82. I was like 12 years old when that album came out, Osmosis, and that was like that really probably set me off down the metal path more than any other album.
I told you that, Kev. I told you that.
Yeah. So
Nez
I'm glad
is not a fan. Nez is not a fan.
Justin, we talked about the last time because Kevin was like, he wasn't super familiar with Perry Mason. I said, but the girl from Hailstorm probably learned about Ozzy through that song.
That's correct.
That,
Yeah, you said
that era. Yeah.
So that actually brings up a question that the last podcast that you said, Mike, and I'm going to kind of paraphrase what you said, that, we had Lizzie there. We should have had more metal girls doing some performances there. I know Lita Ford was on tour because I saw her show. I went to the Whiskey in Hollywood to see her show, so she couldn't go. But Dick, do you think we should have had more, female rockers out there?
We touched on this in the super group when we had, I think each of us had one woman in the had one woman on the selection of our super groups, but that woman didn't make it into our super groups. It would have been nice. I mean, I would have been fine with Lita Ford and Ozzy doing that.
Maybe like Joan Jett or something, I don't know.
Yeah. I would have been fine with, there's a couple other, female guitarists that are great, and I can't remember their names, obviously. But I would have been fine. What's that?
What was that, Nez?
Nita Strauss.
Nita Strauss.
Yeah, Nita.
Yeah.
Or any of the girls from Vixen.
Yeah.
Right.
Nancy Wilson. Mike's laughing right now.
It was for charity, but it's not a charity.
Well, Nancy Wilson, like you could have heart out there.
Vixen.
Nancy Wilson would have been a good choice.
Nancy Wilson. I'm not for Vixen, but Nancy Wilson, she's a fantastic guitar player, and she would have fit the bill totally.
Taylor Momsen would have been good.
There you go. Yeah, from the Pretty Reckless. Yeah. I think you're right. We should have had a little bit more. Well, let me ask you, Justin. I mean, I have the video playing here, and there's all kinds of ages at this concert. Did that surprise you?
It was really that was the diversity of the crowd was one of the coolest things, because I met people from all over the world. I met people from Germany, I met people from Argentina, obviously the UK, West Coast of the US. So yeah, people were there all over. There was, I guess, kids. I didn't see any little kids there. I was pretty far up front, but there was fans of all ages, and like you can kind of see it like as you pull up the mosh pit video. It's really kind of a like a slideshow of like what all metal fans look like, and like we're all there together, like united around one thing. So it was really special. And I made a lot of friends there. I still keep in contact with over Instagram and stuff. So
that is so cool. Well, speaking of, I got some pictures of you here, and you can see how close you are to the stage here, man. First of all, what did you bring with you? Did you bring extra like phone chargers? I mean, tell me what you're wearing here.
All right, so obviously I have my battle vest on, right? So inside my battle vest, this is actually
explain your battle vest. I have an idea what that means, but for the listeners and viewers, what is your battle vest? What is on it? What is it?
It's a cut, basically. It's a cut off denim jacket, and just kind of sewed on patches of all the bands I like and who I've seen. So I got something like 65 patches on there. I've kind of been building over the last like 2 or 3 years. And the crazy part was, I go to shows a lot. I go to probably 2 shows a month. And you'll see like, a handful of 5, 6, 7, 8 battle vests there. But at this show, I would say 1 out of every 3 people on the floor had a battle vest on. So it was pretty cool seeing everyone's battle vest. There's actually a account I follow on Instagram called Battle Vest London, and the guy happened to be on the other side, so I didn't get to meet him. I knew he was going to be there, but I didn't get to meet him. But yeah, so I carried with me. I had an extra phone charger, obviously. The water, like there wasn't a lot of opportunity to get water or drinks because I didn't want to lose my spot, so I stayed in my same spot the entire 11 hours I stood for. Yes. Yeah, it was my feet were hurting.
There's a certain diet that you have to go on when you commit to something like that. So you want to like not drink too much water.
It was a balancing act. I managed to get rid of some water and other ways I'm not going to discuss in this podcast. But
wow.
But there was a lot of sweating, so it was something like 85 degrees, and 85 degrees in the UK is a different 85 degrees than here for some reason. It was really hot, and obviously.
Were you wearing a pit diaper?
Yeah. No.
A pit
put it
diaper.
this way. I'm gonna put it this way. I went once, all right, and it was not a diaper, and I figured it out. So
Wait, what?
Let's keep it at that.
Let's
We're
keep
gonna
it
leave
at
it at
that.
that.
I like that. Okay.
Nez wants to know. Nez wants to know.
If you're
Okay.
listening to this podcast, make sure you check out the video at the Fandom Podcast Network YouTube channel, and you can see Justin's pictures here and how close he was. And now we had Jason Momoa. He was kind of the sort of MC. He was up there a few times, but not all the time, telling who was playing when. But he definitely went on and let you know that he was a big Pantera fan. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I remember before I communicated with you, Justin, Mike's like, dude, you got to check this out. And we know now that Jason Momoa is a huge Pantera fan. And in the event, he introduces them and he says, I'm going to be getting in this pit, so make some room for me. And you are right next to him. Now, before you say anything, I'm going to play the video here. I'm going to add this to the stage. Okay, so for you listening, you can see Jason holding up the phone like a selfie way, and there's Jason right next to him, and you have like the full-on Pantera, Cowboys from Hell look on there, trying to get you, and you got the full-on metal face here. Tell me about this pit, dude. This is awesome.
So I had a pretty good inkling this was going to happen. I don't know if I brought it to fruition or what with my mind, but there's some videos on the internet when he was at the M72 tour with Metallica and Pantera was playing, and he was in the mosh pit. So I'd seen those on the internet, and I was saying to my friends before the show, and I knew I was going to be in the Golden Circle, which was going to be up front. And I'm like, I bet Jason Momoa comes in and moshes during Pantera. And when he said that was going to happen, I had to make a split-second decision here because he was maybe like 20. He entered like maybe 20 feet away from me, 30 feet away from me. And for lack of a better term, I more or less stalked him through the crowd. And
nice.
I followed him. I wasn't the only guy, obviously. You see this guy's about to bite his arm off.
Look at that little kid right there going, yeah, I'm holding on to his arm.
Aquaman.
So actually, if you actually look, that's actually not that kid's hands. That's the guy next to it. I've looked at this a lot. It's the guy next to it. His name's Tom, right? So I met him later on Instagram. But when you watch the video the first time, like the first few times I watched the video, I thought he was like a grandma because like he has this like beautiful, like long, like lustrous gray hair. So we thought like some grandma had hopped into the pit with Jason Momoa during Pantera. But now he's a trainer out of London. But yeah, so I just followed him, and they started off with Cowboys from Hell, right? So it's kind of like a circle pit, and I don't know if you've seen the videos from above, but it was absolute mayhem. It was just like this, So we were all kind of in the circle pit for Cowboys from Hell. And then when this video started, I was just kind of everyone stopped moving because the song had ended and Walk was about to come on. So I kind of just took my phone and stuck it up like this. I was taking, some like selfie videos just like everyone else was. And I just happened to be in the perfect position. And he's like taking pictures, looking over here, taking selfies with everyone. Then all of a sudden the song starts and just everyone just started bouncing up and down at the same time. And it was like this amazing feeling of like unity, and it was one of the best like emotional feelings I ever had in my entire life.
I can imagine this. I mean, I'm showing a actual selfie you took here. It's of the two pictures. It's the one on the left here. And I said, if you're listening to this podcast, make sure you check out the video. You are in heaven here. You are just like, you are moshing with Jason Momoa during Pantera at Ozzy's last and Black Sabbath's last concert here. And you're in heaven here. This is awesome. But I want to play the video one more time. I got to play the video one more time here. Hold on. Yeah, look at that.
And that's all I was able to get. Like my arm was like literally being pulled down. Like, so that's all I got. So I was just trying to get my phone back in my pocket, and then but we jumped around for maybe a minute or two more, and then at that point I'm like, all right, I gotta get back to my seat. So I just kind of beelined it back to my seat and watched the end of the Pantera set.
How big is he, Justin?
He's really big, really big. He's not as thick as I imagined him to be, because obviously he's probably between roles right now or whatever. But he's a tall. He towered over everyone else in the crowd, and there were some big guys there. We're in like England. There was a lot of Norwegians there who were very, very tall. So there's a lot of big guys in that crowd.
what I like about that moment too is that it reminds me when I finally saw Iron Maiden for the first time back in 2018. So in the Legacy of the Beast tour, when they were doing all of their big hits, and they put a spectacle on for each one, and it was the most amount of money I spent for a ticket. It was pit tickets for like almost $500, and there was a huge mosh pit in there, and I was just like, I'm like pushing 50 years old here at the time, and I'm like, do I need to get into this pit? And I'm like, yes, one last time, and I did it, and man, it was totally worth it. So,
And I think that after this podcast, we won't say Justin was in the pit with Jason Momoa. We'll say that Jason Momoa was in the pit with Justin.
that's right.
Sure. It's true. Justin was in it first. And
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Jason joined him.
Yeah. So
but those pits were going all night. Even outside the pit, I mean, everyone was bouncing around. Like I said, when Gojira and Slayer, oh my God, when Slayer was on, that place was going wild.
I want to show one more video here, and if you watch this from beginning to end and didn't tear up, you are not human. You're a freaking robot. You were there, and it looked like you were closer here too for Ozzy's performance of "Mama, I'm Coming Home." I'm going to play this real quick here. Wow, man. Give me your thoughts during that performance, because that was powerful when I was watching that on the Blu-ray that I got, because I felt like I was watching it live, which is what I love about these. But Jason, what was that like during that moment?
That was not a dry eye in the crowd. Everyone, kind of putting their arms around each other, and it was a real sense of community at that point. And I think we all absorbed at that point that was the last time we were seeing Ozzy Osbourne, and the fact that he was selling out. Like, and what we later learned in documentaries, like he basically gave his life for his last performance, And I think we didn't know that at that point, but we kind of sensed that how hard this was for him, and he really reached deep down. And did he sound perfect? No. But he sounded way better than any of us anticipated, especially on Mama, I'm Coming Home. That was just a very emotional moment of the concert.
Yeah. Dick, I want to go to you, sir. Was there before we move on from the concert itself, was there anything else you wanted to, what else stood out to you?
I like that it was at Villa Park, in Birmingham, not somewhere in London, not anywhere else, but it was right there. And Villa Park's not a very big stadium. When you think of Hotspur playing in a huge stadium in Wembley, it was, I wasn't there, but it seems like it was like a cozy place to see that and be really happy in that space.
Yeah. Good point. Nez.
It just looked fun. It looked really good.
Nez, what about you? Any other thing you want to say about the show?
I think metal is going to live on, but what I think a very sobering feeling was just knowing that Black Sabbath were saying we're no more, and then Ozzy would pass shortly thereafter, but that a lot of the bands who played that have meant so much to so many people, they're long in the tooth themselves. And it's very hard to accept that, some of the people who, I don't know, I idolize these guys,
Yeah.
and it's
sobering.
And it really will be over the next few years that some of them really are going to just have to hang it up. Like our boy from Man of War. He just announced he can't play guitar anymore. It's kind of sad. I know Mike and Dick are very big Man of War
Coverdale, fans. He called it quits too.
Coverdale retired and moved to Reno.
but they're also, they're gonna pass too, and it is just it won't be too long from now that we won't be paying premium dollars to see these guys do it one more time. It will be done. and we will just be left with videos and the records, you know. And I just tell myself, well, I'm physically too old to go anymore. So, okay. But I know I don't mean that, you know, I don't mean that. I mean, I'm lined up for Iron Maiden in September, and I'm lined up again for AC/DC like in September. I've got those tickets secured. Wasp tickets go on sale tomorrow at 10.
Nice.
We're going, you know what I
So
mean?
that's you brought up a good point about that. And Mike, I want to ask you about this, and feel free to jump in there, Justin, if you want to, is seeing these guys and these acts like probably for the final time, because a lot of them are starting to age out and get older and stuff. And, you know, it's that point to where like, yeah, I went to go see them. They didn't sound great, but it was nice to see them live one more time type of thing, you know? Mike, you and I have been discussing this. I've been doing this podcast a lot about, you know, we always talk about these shows that we go to, and might be the last time we see them.
Yeah. You know, I saw Ozzy one time years ago. I'm talking before Black Sabbath reunited and they went on tour. And it was a really bad show for Ozzy. I don't know. There was something wrong with the monitor, and Zach had to come over and count him down with every start of the song. And I left there really depressed, and I thought, I hope that's not the last time I get to see Ozzy. And then I saw him with Sabbath. He was great. And then I saw him one more time solo, and he was amazing. And, you know, what this thing was when I was watching this, and Justin, I'm sure that you saw this live too, is that you knew it was the end. Mm-hmm. You know, so many people saying this is our final tour. I mean, Slayer for being retired or the hardest working band in showbiz, right? And, you know, Megadeth saying we're having one final tour, and then they said it's going to be 4 years long, right? Mm-hmm. So, but with this, you knew this was it, right? So you're seeing, and really, there's no other band who's going to. I mean, you know, if Iron Maiden ever calls it quits, would they have this kind of send off? I don't think so. You know, like who else would garner this kind of, you know, response? And Ozzy's the only one to be able to do this. All the bands that play there, if Metallica ever retires, they're not going to get that kind of send off. Even with Aerosmith, who are huge, they're not going to get this kind of send off. It's never going to be like this ever again. So when you saw this, and when I was watching it live, and when I saw him, I thought, I'm never going to see him perform ever again. Mm-hmm. Because you knew it was the end. Yeah,
Justin, I want to ask you when Mike and I did the podcast the last time, and we all agree between me, Mike, and Johnny that we felt that Nuno Betancourt was the MVP of this thing. He played on 12 songs. Mm-hmm. What was your recollection of Nuno coming out? And obviously they did that. He did changes, of course, with Youngblood, and that arrangement was just put together like 24 hours earlier, maybe even less than that. Your thoughts on Nuno?
Yeah, he was really the MVP of the show. Him and Zach Wilde like really kind of held it together. Zach obviously played with Pantera, and he also played with Ozzy, so to have to do double duty like that, and as you were saying, he provides a lot of support for Ozzy. Obviously, they're close friends, and I think that Ozzy relies on Zach a lot out there on stage, from what I've seen. But Nuno was absolutely terrific. I actually was chatting with him on DMs on Instagram. I posted a video of him, and he commented on it, or he reposted.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So I was giving him his flowers. I was saying, you were really the MVP of the show. He gave me a like back, so that was really nice to see. But
that's so cool. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, I didn't even realize until after the show, because it's hard to see up there, and pick out all the artists. Everyone has long hair, and you haven't seen a lot of these guys for years, so you don't necessarily know what they look like. I'm thinking of the '90s version, But so to see all those guys out there, and like you were saying, to know that this is the last time, we'll see a lot of these artists, and it is sobering. And there are metal acts coming up, younger metal acts, but they're not getting the mainstream exposure and that other genres of music are getting. So like you said, anytime I have an opportunity to go see these bands, and this event in particular, you got to go do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, let's go ahead and get into the unfortunate news that we got soon after this concert. All right, guys. So Ozzy Osbourne dies weeks after the farewell concert on July 22nd. Black Sabbath frontman Ozzy Osbourne, according to media reports at the time, he was 76. Legendary heavy metal singer's death came just weeks after his farewell show in Birmingham, England. Quote, it is with more sadness than mere words can convey that we have to report that our beloved Ozzy Osbourne has passed away this morning. A family statement on Ozzy Osbourne's Instagram read, he was with his family and surrounded by love. We ask everyone to respect our family's privacy at the time. John Michael Ozzy Osbourne, 1948 to 2025. And then he had his funeral on July 30th. Ozzy Osbourne receives a rocking send-off with a public funeral procession in Birmingham. The metal icon will be laid to rest at a private ceremony in his hometown in the Midlands later that day on Wednesday, July 30th. Ozzy Osbourne was honored with a public funeral in Birmingham, followed by his death at the age of 76. Thousands of fans lined the street, including his family, of course. There was Sharon, Jack, and Kelly paid their respects, and his daughter Amy as well. There's some pictures if you're watching the YouTube channel. Naz, I want to go to you first here, buddy. Your thoughts when you first heard this?
Well, I know exactly where I was. I was sitting outside of a favorite coffee shop, and Simp sent me a message that simply said, "Don't do it, Nez." And I had a feeling I knew what that meant. We have an inside joke of things I do when famous people die. And I knew he said that I was never allowed to do what I do when Ozzy would pass. He said it like years ago. So when he sent that message, I was like, oh my God. And I immediately typed in Ozzy Osbourne and saw that the news broke like minutes before. I immediately went home, put on my Diary of a Madman t-shirt and started spinning their records. I put a display in the front window of our house of my favorite Ozzy Osbourne records. I don't know, later that night, I was at a gig actually, and I was wearing a t-shirt and plenty of people were coming over, like asking me if I knew he died. And it was so many people that were asking that I turned to the person I was with and I said, the next person I'm going to pretend like I didn't know and like break down crying, like shocked, like what has happened, It was tough, and Mike also was the bearer of bad news when Eddie Van Halen died. Like he called me and told me that Eddie, so it was
God, why don't you just come over to your house and kick you in the nuts first?
I know.
Well, I think hoping that he likes to hear the bad news coming from someone who is on the same wavelength of how it's going to feel.
Well, let's go to you, Mike. Obviously, you got the news just before Nez did.
Yeah.
Your thoughts when you first saw it?
I'm kind of different in the sense that I'm sure I'm different from Nez, that I didn't know Black Sabbath before Ozzy. So I discovered Ozzy first and then Black Sabbath second because I was exposed to like Crazy Train, and then someone told me he was in a band called Black Sabbath before that. So then sort of everything came together in terms of my fandom of Ozzy, and I have seen Ozzy Osbourne more than any other artist. And Ozzy became important to me because my wife and I went to Ozfest every single year. So we saw one year we would see Ozzy, and then he would be Black Sabbath the next. And Ozfest was kind of a rite of passage for my wife and I to go every single year. And, he was just a constant in my entire life, in my musical taste of my entire life. And I heard someone say, and I wish I could give them credit of who it was, but someone said it would be like waking up one day and someone says to you, there's no more pudding in the world, right? And like you didn't have pudding every day, but when you wanted pudding, you knew it was there, right? So
for me, it would be peanut butter.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you hear that Ozzy's gone, and even though he isn't in your life every day, he was something that you went to, that you enjoyed every now and then, right? When you hear an Ozzy song in his catalog, it's so massive that, you know, when you find out he's gone, it was, to me, it was shocking in the sense of like, how can that be? How can I live in a world where there's no Ozzy? It just seems odd to me.
Yeah.
It just off. It would be almost like somebody else said it. If my favorite football team's the Pittsburgh Steelers, if they moved out of Pittsburgh and there was no more Pittsburgh Steelers, you would think, how can that be? How is that possible? Especially from a guy who cheated death for how many years, and then for him to go, and then then the wave comes in of, hey, he had that final show and he went out on his own terms, and you come to, you know, realize that was the right way to go. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was tough. It took a while to get over it. You
know. What about you, Dick? What was your immediate thoughts on the news of Ozzy passing?
So when I heard that, which is what I do when anybody that's sort of a famous person dies, I go back and I read like the Wikipedia page, and you know, then you go to like some other somewhere else online, depending on who it is. And I went back and I was reading, and I was like, God, like I remembered so many things about my life of when I was listening to that listening to that era of Ozzy, right? So like, you know, I'm born in 75, so you know, like, just start out with Perry Mason, which I know Nez is not a fan of, but you know, I was in college and we were listening to that. I was you know, in high school listening to, you know, all the earlier Ozzy stuff, and then finding, like Simp said, you know, finding Black Sabbath and listening to that, and like remembering where I was at those time periods, even into the stuff like in the 2000s that, you know, is like less popular, but like going, oh my God, there are so many eras that just sparked different memories of where I was in time, and going, oh my God, I was, you know, when we moved, I was listening to Bark at the Moon, you know, when I was a kid. And then like my brother and his friends listening to Original Sin, and what other things I was listening to at the time. It was really great to go back and like think, oh my God, you know, that song came out at the same time of like Aces High, or like, you know, like things like that, and like putting them together and saying, wow, there was this like collage of metal and music that was really great. And it was great because it even went up to like, and then, you know, it's not the more popular albums, but like the latest couple of albums, and going, you know, like I listened, they're on, you know, the stations I listened to on Sirius.
Yeah.
You know, they played those songs.
Okay, Jess, I want to go to you here because you were at the last show. I'm trying to put myself in your shoes right now.
Mm-hmm.
Having, you know, seen Ozzy myself in the past, but seeing the last show and experience it with all those people, where were you, and how did this hit you when this news first happened for you?
I felt two emotions. I felt obvious sadness, like it was a complete gut punch, because this was not expected. It came out of nowhere, you know. Obviously, we saw his health was failing on stage. He kept trying to stand up. They had him seatbelted down. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. But
no, I did not.
Yeah, he kept trying to stand up, and that's what, like, every time he did that, like, you just felt it in your heart, because you know how badly he wanted to be the old Ozzy and get on his feet and, you know, sing like he used to, and he couldn't do it anymore. And then the other emotion I felt was just gratefulness that he, like I said before, he literally gave probably maybe 6 months of the end of his life. And we learned from the documentary, he sold out for the show, and he did it for the fans. And I give Sharon so much credit also, because no other, what you guys were saying before also is like, maybe the only other band who could possibly get a send off even similar to this is Metallica. I know you may not agree, Mike, but but Metallica doesn't have a Sharon Osbourne. You know, they don't have someone who like loves them so unconditionally. You know,
Lars.
So you get Lars, yeah.
They have Lars.
Yes, Lars definitely loves himself unconditionally. But yeah, it's to her credit, she put on the show. She put everything together. Obviously, he didn't have the capabilities of doing this, and just being able to see that somebody cared enough about his fans. And even when he came out, I think we either saw in a documentary or somewhere later on that he said to Sharon, I didn't know this many people love me. You know, so even a big rock star like has his own insecurities like that. And it was beautiful to be able to show somebody who had such a big impact on everyone there's life in one way or another. You know, Perry Mason's the first song I learned how to play on bass. You know, like without that, like I wouldn't play bass. And you know, everyone was there for a different reason, a different era of Ozzy. And I think what Michael's saying, I didn't even know that Ozzy was in Black Sabbath. I thought it was John Osbourne. I thought these are two different people. Okay, so like, I learned this later on, not like much, not recently, but like, you know, like probably in the later 90s when I was like, you know, I thought it was two different people. So to have the opportunity to see him, and like I said, he didn't sound like perfect, but he sounded way better than any of us expected, and the emotion that he sang with it cut through your soul. So when he died, it was the saddest non-family member death, right, that I've probably ever experienced. It really took an emotional. I had a tough couple days, you know. But
right.
That's a great way. That's a great way of putting it. The hardest non-family death that you had to deal with.
You know, it's funny you say that, and it's a great point there, Justin, because there's a few celebrities and artists that passed away that it hit me really, really hard. I remember the first one being Brandon Lee, you know, especially the way it happened on the set of The Crow. And because I was a big fan of Brandon Lee, and then I was a big fan of The Crow separately, because I was watching Brandon Lee grow up, because, you know, I loved his dad's movies, and I remember watching him on the Kung Fu TV series or movie that it was, and he did some other action movies before that. But I think you said it best there, Mike. It's like we're used to having Ozzy in our lives, you know, and it's weird because it was such a gut punch for me, because even though I wasn't there like you were, Justin, I felt like I was there because I spent an entire Saturday watching this entire concert in its entirety, getting invested in it. And I remember I was texting you, Mike and Johnny. Remember that? I was texting you guys, you know, about who was on and my thoughts on it and stuff like that. And, you know, I remember seeing Ozzy for the first time back in, it was soon after Zakk Wylde joined. And I remember it was the first concert that I went to where I actually had like a sore neck for a week and a half for headbanging too hard and too long. And I had to rethink my life on how I would headbang going forward. And it was just so great to finally see him. And I'd seen him maybe two more times after that. And it, you know, and what's really weird too is soon after he passed away, I was at my local flea market, and someone was selling the Osbourne MTV TV series, the Osbournes season 1, and I got it for like $2. And today, as of this recording, I went to that same flea market. Another seller was selling season 2, and I picked it up for $1. And it makes me, I just want to grasp onto anything Ozzy now, because I'm missing him as a personality. I'm, you know, and gotten to know his family through whatever reason, through media. You know, we're kind of, it almost felt like an extended family, you know, because we've gotten to know him as a person and such. So yeah,
he was just such a lovable character as well. I mean, it's hard to find anybody who says they hate Ozzy, the person, right?
Yeah.
There's many people who say that they hate Sharon, but like Ozzy, he was just so lovable of a person. It's like a person you wanted, and you know, because you had the connection to his music, you almost felt like he was your crazy uncle, you know, that somehow, you know, you were related to him and he was like your crazy, fun-loving uncle. And you know, for him to be gone, and you know, like Justin said, with the you know, you just discover so much about him and the music, and you know, like what I remember when I and like Dick said too, so many points of our lives are connected to Ozzy, you know. And I remember when someone told me Ozzy was a lead singer of Black Sabbath, and then I went back and I discovered it's like finding extra French fries in your McDonald's. You know? It's like
a bonus, right?
More fries. Wait, there's more fries. You know, and it's like there's so much more to it. You're like, wait, what is this song? I didn't know he sang Iron Man and Paranoid. I didn't know that.
Well, well, guys, let's get into the next segment here, and we've touched on it a little bit here. This is the documentary Ozzy, No Escape From Now. It is, as of this recording, it is exclusive to Paramount Plus. It is streaming there. And this was released on October 7th. No Escape from Now. A 2-hour documentary charting the final years of Ozzy Osbourne's life, his battle with health issues. Premiered on the 7th and October 7th, 2025. Produced with his family, the film features interviews and appearances from artists like Tony Iommi and Zakk Wylde. Some more information on it. The film covers his health struggles, which included Parkinson, his injuries from 2019 onward, his final recordings, and his 2024 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction. It was directed by Tanya Alexander and produced in partnership with the Osbourne family. Other interviews include, of course, with Ozzy, Sharon, his family, Jack, Kelly, and Amy Osbourne, who was never in the original TV series. She shied away from the spotlight. Guest appearances include Tony Iommi, Zakk Wylde, James Hetfield, Slash, and many, many others. The documentary was not originally intended to be its posthumous project, but now serves as a final look at his life following his passing in July 2025. Yeah, this one at times was tough to watch because one of the toughest things I want to mention at the top was this botched surgery that he had on his neck that went wrong. And they tried to get it fixed, and it did more damage than good, apparently. And seeing Jack Osbourne get emotionally pissed off at this doctor that did this was kind of another gut punch. And seeing what was happening with Ozzy and everything as it goes up to the actual concert and even after his death, very emotional. It was tough to watch. I want to go to you. Who has seen this here? Raise your hand real quick. Okay. Nez, I want to go with you here. Your thoughts on this doco, and then Mike, I'll go to you next.
Yeah, I watched it this afternoon, and I'm still processing it because it really was fantastic. And I think so many things stood out, but one in particular was it did rely heavily on interviewing his family, like his kids, and of course Sharon. And it was like you saw the love of a father, and I think that's what made it so real, and of a husband. And it wasn't like they were spending their time praising him as a musical artist and stuff like that. It was just like genuine concern for their dad, who was sick and was in pain, and it was care. And it was, I know there's like that, a warts and all, like, biopic or documentary. And it just was so real because you couldn't put makeup on over this. Like, there was just no way, but it still was magically done tastefully. And it was really, it was entertaining. You were still able to like laugh along with Ozzy, when he would still make his quips, even though he was in so much pain. But then also I felt myself still rooting for him, like when it was so true. And I've heard this about Ozzy over the years, is that he could be sick or be in a funk, but the music would just make him deliver. And they showed that so many times, like when he was in filming the video for the Billy Morrison song, or recording music with Chad Smith, or when he did the benefit show, with Tony Iommi and stuff, singing Paranoid. And my son was with me watching it, and he saw how sick Oz was, and he was commenting when he saw that show where they did Paranoid and how happy Ozzy was. And an hour earlier, you saw how feeble he was. And he was just, my own kid was like, man, like he lives for this music. And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was just, it really was something. I don't know. I could go on about it. Give someone else a turn.
Yeah, Mike, your thoughts on this doco?
Yeah, I don't have too much to add. Nez and I talked about it a little bit today, and I was saying how you feel kind of depressed because you kind of see Ozzy wasting away, and knowing that he just became so depressed because he cannot perform, and there's a scene where he's watching the Hall of Fame. They're practicing in front of him, and he is saying, I want to get up there so bad, but I know if I do, I'll fall, and that could cause him to die if he fell again. and it's almost like a melodrama that you could play out, like almost like a thing where you think, if this was a family drama, that this would be a really great movie, let alone the Ozzy story. And I do one thing that really made me crack up, and I don't know if you caught it, Nez, where he's talking to Kelly and they're in the outside, and he says to her, it could have been worse.
Could have been Sting.
He said, I could have been Sting. And I don't know if I thought to myself, I have to look into that. Like, does he hate Sting, or is this because him and Kelly both knew what he was going to say there?
That's funny.
So that must be some sort of a family inside joke that well, it could have been worse. I could have been Sting. And I think that we definitely have to add that to our vernacular, Nez.
Okay.
It could have been worse. I could have been Sting.
Or any day you're not Sting is a good day.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
That's awesome. Great take, guys. Well, the one thing we want to get to next here is, like I said, I was going to, try to get you guys together to record this earlier, but just because of the holidays and other family stuff that delayed this, it worked in a weird way. It worked out because something came to fruition. And that, of course, is the 2026 Grammy Awards that honored Ozzy Osbourne with an all-star tribute. And this happened on Sunday, February 21st, 2026, held at the Crypto Arena in Los Angeles at 8 p.m. Pacific time. There was an all-star tribute that honored the late rock icon Ozzy Osbourne during the memoriam segment. Featured a powerful performance of Black Sabbath's War Pigs. Post Malone did the vocals, joined by Slash, Duff McKagan, Chad Smith, and producer Andrew Watt. The emotional performance left the Osbourne family in attendance visibly moved. Slash and Watt tag teamed the song on guitar, delivering squealing solos and those iconic lumbering riffs. McKagan and Smith did a really good job with the rhythm section. And the group received a rapturous sound of applause from the crowd as a tearful Osbourne family looked on. That's from loudwire.com article that I got this from here. In the weeks leading up to the Grammy Awards, it was revealed that we would get those players to do this. Andrew Watt, of course, is the producer, but we get Slash, Duff, Chad, and Post Malone. Both Smith and Watt took the stage for Ozzy's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction in 2024. And Post Malone actually linked up with Ozzy in 2019 when Ozzy guested on the singer's hit song "Take What You Want," and the two even performed the song together at the American Music Awards. Next year, Malone returned in favor and appeared on "It's a Raid" off Ozzy Osbourne's first new album in 10 years for "Ordinary Man." And then we also want to mention as well that things came full circle here, guys. Youngblood was there, of course, honoring Ozzy there with the family and, of course, Sharon. And he wins Best Rock Performance, got a Grammy for his performance in Changes. And this was prior to the telecast. Sometimes they hold these other awards before the main awards, because otherwise it would go on for 6 hours. But the award for Best Young Performance went to Changes, the Black Sabbath song performed by Youngblood. Frank Bello, Nuno Betancourt, and Adam Wakeman won this. And I think I wasn't surprised by this, guys, but I want to kind of get your thoughts on this whole tribute to Ozzy and the Grammys. And then, of course, Youngblood winning. Let's go with you, Justin. Your thoughts on this?
I was very excited to see him win. I don't think anyone in my general vicinity had any idea who Youngblood was when he got on stage. There's a lot of who, so we kind of sat back, and the performance started a little bit, it started slowly, obviously, as Changes does, but when he started belting out the chorus, it was, everyone was blown away. They took everyone off their feet.
Were you singing along there in person like everyone else was?
Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Yeah, the whole place is one gigantic chorus. It was a really beautiful moment. And like I said, not a lot of people are familiar with him. I've tried to dig into his work. It's not really my type of music necessarily, but I know they had a really special relationship, and I think it's a well-deserved win. I think it was probably the most unique performance of the day. So yeah, I think it was a well-deserved win.
Nice. Let's go to you, Dick. Your thoughts on this Grammy tribute and Youngblood?
I like Youngblood. I'm not. I've only been aware of him for a little while, but he's a guitar-driven guitar player. Same thing with Andrew Watt being a very good guitar player. I like the idea of bands with guitars coming back and like winning stuff and being popular again. Andrew Watt's a great guitar player. Youngblood. Post Malone is a fantastic guitar player, and I thought that all those guys together, it was good. Good for the Grammys. Good for rock.
Nice. What about you, Nez?
They crushed it, but it was another one of those situations where I was just like, man, this is like the only rock performance on the Grammys, and it's for a memorial.
Yeah.
I watched it in its entirety because some of the people who won are some performers that my kid is big into, so it was, kind of put a little finger on the pulse of like pop music nowadays. But it was just one of those things like when I saw like Slash and Duff like sitting in the audience when things were starting, like they just look so out of place, and I was just like, man, where are the days when Guns N' Roses were winning awards and they showed up drunk and needed to be like kicked off stage? Like I miss those days. But they absolutely killed it. And what was really ridiculous for me, it was only the next morning when I heard a review of it on the radio where they said it was, a political statement. And I was like, how am I so stupid that I didn't make that connection? I was so wrapped up in hearing War Pigs, and I was like, yeah, it's totally a comment, in 2026 about what's happening in this country right now,
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. That was rock and roll,
Nice.
and it also seemed like it was the only performance that everybody was actually really playing, like it just was because they're zeroing in on the guitars and stuff. And as a player, I'm like, yeah, they're really playing those solos, and Chad Smith is really killing those drums. But the stuff that was like immediately after that, I don't even know the dude who died that they were celebrating, but they this huge band, and it was just really apparent that they were not really performing. Like the vocals were live, but everything else was tracked. That was my cynical take on it. So long live rock and roll.
Mike, what about you? Your thoughts on the Grammys and Youngblood as well?
So I actually watched the whole Grammys, and I was waiting for this. And one of the things that I really liked was I thought that they were going to come out and play Crazy Train. Mm-hmm. I did, right? Yeah. And I thought they're going to go cookie cutter, vanilla, Crazy Train, or Mama, I'm Coming Home, right? And when they went into War Pigs, I was like, whoa! I was shocked by that, and I was so unbelievably ecstatic that they did that, right? And I'll give Post Malone credit because he performed with Aerosmith one time, and I forget when it was, and he did Train Kept a Rollin', I think, or he did something like it was some old song with Aerosmith that you would not expect. Somebody doing Aerosmith, they do Walk This Way or Sweet Emotion, but he did like a deeper cut. And so, I give much credit to him, and I love the fact that they did War Pigs,
nice.
And instead of, Here Comes Crazy Train for the 4 millionth time, and they played War Pigs. It was great. It was great.
Nice.
And by the way, side note, Gaga killed it that night too, Ness.
So I want to go back to you in a minute here, Justin, because I want to ask you a question. So we agreed on the last podcast, pretty much between me, Mike, and Johnny, that we felt that this was the moment. Changes kind of stole the show, and the fact that they picked that song and then Nuno and they put everything together with a guitar solo, because normally the original song doesn't have a guitar solo. Mm-hmm. And the whole crowd just got into it, and then he wins the Grammy for this. When you were watching this live there in person, did you feel that shift? Did you feel like, okay, we're watching something special here?
Not initially, but as the song went on and on, you felt it. And I guess in the final verse, the crescendo, I guess if you want to call it that, you definitely knew you were watching something special. His voice is spectacular, and it's really cool to see a rock star. And that's what he is. He's a rock star, and getting attention and being with the fans, and he's something we haven't seen in a long time, and it's really refreshing. Not my favorite music in the entire world. I like heavier metal and rock than that, but I respect what he's doing, and I think he's amazing for the music scene right now.
That's great. Yeah. I actually ended up buying that single like everyone else did, and I was getting emotional listening to it in the car for the first time. And I bought his recent album digitally, and then I bought this one here, the little EP that he did with Aerosmith here. And apparently the one I got is signed. He signed a bunch. It was like $5 more. You got this one here. It's pretty good. Was it the One More Time song, the big one he did? But my only problem with this album, though, is it feels a little overproduced. It's yeah, I don't know. There just seems like there was a lot of work put into it, and it wasn't as raw as I was kind of hoping to get from it. But his album is pretty good, and I like that he's kind of leading the charge of rock and metal, and I think he's a good ambassador for that. And he seems to be accepted by a lot of people for that reason. And let's hope he keeps it clean. So yeah. Well, guys, let's have some fun. We've been having a wonderful tribute here to Ozzy Osbourne. We miss you, Ozzy. Rest in peace, and we're going to miss your personality as well. But what we want to do is celebrate by picking some of our favorite Ozzy songs. All right, so we're going to have a little fun here. We're going to do the Mount Rushmore of Ozzy Osbourne. We're going to have each of you pick 3 Ozzy or Ozzy / Black Sabbath songs. We're going to spot you Crazy Train. We're going to get that out of the way because that's the most popular song of Ozzy, according to many, many polls. So there's 4 spots. 1 is taken with Crazy Train. I want you guys to give me your top 3 Ozzy songs. These are your favorites, not who you think should be up there, but your personal favorites. Think of it kind of like a desert island type of thing. These are the songs that you love for whatever reason why. And I'm going to start with our special guest here, Justin. I really appreciate you coming here and giving us the lowdown of what it was like to experience that. So what I want you to do is, and I know this is going to be tough for you because you came up with a list of 3 Ozzy and 3 Black Sabbath, and I had to have you pare it down to 3 total. So what is number 3 for you?
Number 3 is Hellraiser. Song I like a lot. I really like I know we're not allowed to do duets, but I particularly like the one he does with Lemmy, the version. So that's my number 3.
Okay.
Always been kind of a song whenever it comes on my playlist. Never skip song.
Nice.
Next up, Children of the Grave. That song just has, I love the intro. It just has such good energy. It's just like a quintessential driving song. It's just that's what I really love about rock and metal. Like that song says it all. And I'll go back to it again. I know this is a controversial one, but Perry Mason, I absolutely love that song. Is it one of the greatest Ozzy songs, Black Sabbath songs ever? In most people's opinion, no. But it's what got me into metal, and I'm always gonna be grateful for that song. There was 3 times I cried during that concert. Right? It was during Perry Mason, because that took me back to being 12 years old again.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah,
Okay.
that the entire Metallica set, because I'm the world's biggest Metallica fan. My neighbors were asking if there's something wrong with me. I'm like, I'm just being emotional right now. And then obviously during Ozzy's set was just waterworks the entire time. So that's my top 3, and obviously Crazy Train gets on there as well.
Good choices. All right, Mike, I'm going to go to you, co-host here.
So
give me your top 3. Start with number 3.
So Crazy Train, obviously, like you said, is on it. That's actually my wedding song. So
nice.
You're kidding. You're kidding.
No, swear to God.
I'm going to ask Cindy tomorrow night. There's no way.
You tell her, you ask her, Nez, you say, when you guys said I do, what was the first song that played? And she'll tell you.
Okay.
Great straight, right? All right. So I went, I talked to Nez about this today.
Yeah.
So I got to go Diary of a Madman, right? Okay.
That's at number 3.
That's number, that's number 3. Okay. Then I'm going to go Bark at the Moon at number 2. And the reason I'm going Bark at the Moon, because, and I told Nez about this, each song sort of represents something in Ozzy's career. And, Randy Rhoads had died, right? And we didn't know whether Ozzy was going to come back again or whatever. And he comes back with Bark at the Moon. And it's also a song that my wife and I connected over, because she told me that was her first introduction to Ozzy. She used to rent the album at her local library and go home and spin that and just stare at the werewolf picture, right? and like she was fascinated by it, right? And she was like, I think like 11, somewhere like that. And she, like I thought with the Kiss Destroyer album, she thought that it was like a werewolf on this song, right? Like he turned into a werewolf. She's like 11 or 10 or 11, whatever it was, right? So that song we always sort of, connected over, my wife and I. And then I thought I was gonna go Perry Mason, right? I was gonna go Perry Mason because that's a song that her brother and I connected over, because her brother, who is 13 years younger than she is, his first introduction to Ozzy, like Justin, was Perry Mason, right? So all of these have sort of a connection, because I discovered Ozzy with Diary of a Madman, then Bark at the Moon with my wife. But, I thought, and I was listening to some Ozzy songs today, and I was really going, and there's some great new Ozzy stuff, like Under the Graveyard is amazing, really great. I Don't Want to Stop is great. But then I thought, it's got to be Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Yeah.
It has to be, when I saw that today in the documentary, and when
I had that as an honorable mention, so that's a good choice.
When I saw that, it just sort of brings his whole career full circle, of like, it's in each one of those, I said, represents a part, not only Ozzy's career, but in my life, so I think that maybe, that's I really do think that all of them are like 1A, 1B, and 1C. I can't really make one better than other, but those are my top 3.
Okay, so just to clarify, you had Bark at the Moon,
Diary of a Madman, Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay, good choice.
I didn't go any Sabbath. I went pure Ozzy.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah. All right, Dick, let's go to you, buddy. What is your top 3, starting with number 3?
I had a lot written down.
Look if you're watching the video there, you have a full list, and so you had to narrow it down here, buddy. That's like a set list of a great.
Exactly. I wrote like a list of all the songs I'd want to hear, and then I was like, oh, I'll cross it. I didn't cross anything out.
All right, so if you had to pick, what's number 3? We'll go from 3 to 1.
So number 3 would be "See You on the Other Side."
Nice.
Lemmy wrote it with him. I think it's a great song, very poignant for an after death. Number 2, I was vacillating between 2, but I think I'm going to go with "Flying High" again.
Flying High, good choice. There you go.
The cover, it's such a great cover. And then number 1, I did "Paranoid," because I think that was for me like when I started playing guitar. You play certain songs and you try to sing certain songs, and that was something that I was like, well, not that it's easy, but it's fun to learn, it's interesting to learn, and you can play it. And it was like it's like a gateway drug, nice. It got me into into playing guitar and singing. And if you saw the other ones, I was like a very, very there's a lot of other ones that I was like, no, that's definitely it. And then I had to push it out.
Good stuff there. I like that. That's a good top 3. All right.
Dick, I was seriously considering putting "See You on the Other Side" in there too.
Okay, so give me number 3. Give me 3 through 1 again.
So 3 would be "See You on the Other Side," "Flying High" again, and "Paranoid." 3,
nice.
2, 1.
Good stuff. All right, Nez, give me your 3. You're adding to the Rushmore here.
This
Starting with number 3.
this was hard. This was tough, and I'm glad Simp. Like the first thing I wrote down was Snowblind, and then when I talked to Mike, he was like, "No, I'm just going Ozzy. Black Sabbath is a whole other thing. And I was like, "Okay, thank you. I'm going Ozzy." Mike, I gotta say, I couldn't believe the shit you were saying, because my number 3 is Diary of a Madman.
Nice.
Last song, what a powerful way to end an album. It's creepy, it's beautiful, it is him. It's Diary of a Madman. Mike, you're not going to believe this, buddy, but my number 2, because you know I'm a Jake E. Lee fan, is in fact Bark at the Moon. It was just amazing. The video, the guitar solo, and also, like, when you really think about it, like, what was he, 10, 11 years into his like musical career, or maybe longer? Wait, he started at 70. So it was like 13 or 14 years into his musical career. And to have a song like that come out and get to play, like, there's not many rock acts that do that, but it is a kick-ass song. But my number 1, this is the one that's going to get under Mike's skin a little bit. He hates live albums, but I played this double album like crazy, and I had
for the audio listeners, what is it?
This is Tribute, the live record, and I used to have a turntable where you could stack your vinyl, and like it would play one, and then it would end, and the other one would fall on top and play it again. And that's the one with the famous. He's holding Randy Rhoads up. Absolutely, I am going with my number 1 Ozzy is definitely Suicide Solution live, the live version of Suicide Solution. It's powerful.
Mike is giving you a face palm right now.
It's got Randy Rhodes's insane solo, and then it comes back in with the "Take Me Away Tomorrow." It is just, as a little kid, I think this came out in 87. Yeah, 1987.
Nice.
So I was 14. And I got this the day it came out, because my older brother, we had a Pathmark near our house, and he knew when the records were coming out, and my mom bought 3 copies, one for each kid, because we didn't share. And we just came home from school, and we each had our copy of Tribute. I still have the hype sticker. Here it is, the Tribute.
Wow, look at that.
Hype sticker. I played this album. It's threadbare. It still works. Number 1, Suicide Solution. Live, Mike.
You know, it's funny. Mike and I'm with Mike. I'm not a big fan of live albums myself. There's a few exceptions, but yeah, I'm just not a fan of it. But those are great choices, man. Well done. Okay, so give me number 3 of yours to 1 again.
Diary of a Madman.
Mm-hmm.
Bark at the Moon. Suicide Solution off of Tribute.
Nice. Well done. All right. It's funny, Mike. You had a really good point on this. This is Ozzy Osbourne's "Mama, I'm Coming Home" was an honorable mention for me. But I feel like what you said is like, you feel like he's kind of wrapping up, not his career, but it just feels like, of all the crap that he's gone to, this song just brings it back home, and it's such a good song, and it now hits different when I hear it. It's a gut punch now that he's not with us anymore, especially after what?
Not to interrupt you, but I may not have picked this song if it wasn't for his final concert.
Yeah.
Like when I saw him perform this at the final show, I was like, this is the song, right? This is it. If that would have never happened, I may have went with Perry Mason instead of this.
Justin, real quick, does this song hit different now that you saw it in person happen, and then now he's not with us anymore?
100%. It was his way of saying goodbye to all of us. Like, we knew that was going on, like, live. It's like, it's almost "Mom, I'm coming home to heaven," or wherever Ozzy ended up. But it was just a really, like I said, emotional moment, and we knew the gravity of it while we were there, and everyone was looking into each other's eyes. Everyone was teared up, and you hear it now, and it hits like this July 5th all over again.
Yeah, Good call. Yeah. So I just had to throw it out there because of, this was an honorable mention. This almost made my top 3. But the way the emotional impact it now has, I wanted to bring that to the table. But my at number 3 for me is Bark at the Moon. Jakey Lee. What I love about the solo that he does too, and that Nuno was able to nail it during the show. And Mike, you had brought this up before too, that no one seems to play it right at all anymore. And that even Jakey Lee's gone and going, yeah, I've heard that version. Yeah, they still don't get it right. There's just something unique about this solo, knowing how Jakey performed it. So yeah. Number 2 for me is Flying High Again. I absolutely this is one that I've gone back to all this time, and I love the arrangement of this song. I love the way Ozzy sings it. I love the way Randy plays it. And it's a fun up-tempo song too. And it's just, I love singing along to this, even though I suck at singing. It's just one of these choruses that just really rings to me. And it's number 2 for that reason. But number 1, and I remember hearing it for the first time live, is No More Tears with Zakk Wylde. I love the sound that Zakk gets on this album. I love the sound that he gets on this particular song. Is it Mike Inez that's on bass, if I remember correctly, right?
Oh, I have no idea.
It wasn't Trujillo, was it? It wasn't Trujillo.
No, I think it was Inez. But anyway, the bass on here, and just I mean, the video, I remember the video very well, and Ozzy just going for it. And then this is when Zakk started coming into, like, he's one of my favorite guitar players. I love the tone that he has on his guitar. He just looks so freaking cool when he played. But the song, and I love the longer version too. I love the break that it takes, and the keyboard that gets in. It's a very haunting song. It's very operatic, and I love it for that reason. It's an amazing, amazing song. So yeah.
Well, let me just say, if you took that album cover or that single cover and you took the words Ozzy Osbourne off, it doesn't look he doesn't look like himself.
I know, right? Yeah, definitely.
Same thing with there's a couple of the errors.
He looks like there's a white snake in
there.
Well, guys, let's go ahead and wrap things up here and get some final thoughts. Well, there, if you're watching the video, we got a nice group shot of a lot of the performers that sat with Ozzy there in Birmingham, behind the scenes there. It's hitting a lot different now, now that we've lost him. Farewell, Ozzy. We miss you. I want to get your final thoughts. We're going to start with you, Justin, our special guest here. First of all, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate you sharing your personal journey with us here, and I'm a little jealous of you, but I'm so happy that you got to be part of this momentous metal moment.
Yeah, I feel honored, lucky, honored, and like I said, we knew what was going on when we were there, and we knew what an important moment was. And at the same time, we didn't know what to expect either when we went to go see it. They hadn't put out any sort of indication of what they would be playing. We didn't know if they'd be playing Ozzy covers, Black Sabbath covers. We knew nothing of that. So to just kind of sit there and literally hear your metal playlist played live in front of you, like all your favorite bands.
Great way to put it.
Yeah, that's what it was like. That's what it was like. It was
Ultimate Metal Mix, number 12.
It really was. And to see a lot of the performers I hadn't seen before, to get exposure to new artists like Youngblood, Hailstorm, I didn't know much about. I knew a little Mastodon. I got much more into them afterwards. Rival Sons, also another really cool band. So I got to see a lot of artists. The one low light was probably Axl Rose's performance. He had his moments. He had a couple moments that sounded good, but he blew his voice out. He's doing the best he can. But unfortunately, that was kind of a little bit of a downer in the show, because everyone was just watching, knowing this is pretty terrible what we're watching here. But glad they came out. I saw them in 2017. I knew what to expect, so I wasn't completely surprised. But yeah, just an absolute complete honor. And I think about it every day. I have great memories of it. made great friends there, and I'll always be forever grateful I got to go.
Stay in touch with those friends in Europe, because when I've done a lot of traveling, I've reconnected with people and they've let me stay in their house and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So nurture that relationship and always treasure that. That's great.
Man, thanks for having me on.
Um,
Appreciate it.
you bet, man. Nez, your final thoughts.
My final thoughts. I got another item I wanted to share, is that back in 2009 when this came out, I had the opportunity to meet the Oz, and he.
What are you holding for the listeners?
Oh, I am holding the I Am Ozzy book.
Nice.
And he came to the Barnes and Noble, or the Borders book, in Philadelphia, and I waited in line for a long time and had him sign this book.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah, so this is a pretty special thing to me. Again, it's like I do agree with what Mike said earlier. You know, it's to wake up and say, wow, Ozzy's not in this world anymore. It's just like, you think it's going to be a constant, the same way the sun will always rise and set, that Ozzy and other huge rockers would always kind of be here. But he's not, and it's sad. But I think the cool thing is I do listen to him regularly, or Black Sabbath and him, and I don't know, it still just has this forever freshness, and I guess that's just kind of the way it's going to be, you know. And
Yeah.
I'm all right with that. But I love the Oz.
Was it you that picked him in our super metal draft as the singer? Who was?
I can check because I have the list right here.
Oh, you did, Mike. You did. Yeah. Yeah, when we did our 1989 super group draft, Mike.
I have my notes still from that.
Nice. If you haven't listened to it or watched the video, go check out that. That was a lot of fun. Nice, well done, Nez. That is a very cool keepsake there. Well, Dick, let's go to you. What are your final thoughts?
You know, like I said, when he died, and I sort of read the Wikipedia pages and sort of went and read interviews, and I listened, like Howard Stern did like all the Ozzy interviews again.
Yeah.
And you listen back, and I just was like, you can't make up that life, like that whole, like the whole span of his life. You can't make that up. It's insane. It's incredible. And he's an artist that, I don't know if, in 100 years, they'll probably still be listening to Ozzy.
What I like too is that he was eventually allowed back to the Alamo. That's great. Full circle. Mike, my co-host, rock and roll brother here on the Fandom Podcast Network's Hair Metal Podcast. Give me your final thoughts on our tribute to Ozzy here.
We always say, there'll never be another this person, there'll never be another that person. I don't think there's ever going to be another Ozzy with the length of career and the stories that he has, and what he did in his life and all that stuff. I don't think there's ever going to be another Ozzy. And from the time that I was 12. And carving his logo into my notebook in math class, from fast forward 45 years, and I'm watching his final concert on, this past year in July. It was a constant in my life, and it will continue to be a constant in my life. And I think that's probably, the biggest compliment that you could give him, is that even though he's going to be dead for, how many years, I'll still be cranking Ozzy songs with my windows down in the summer, and that's about. I think Ozzy would probably be like, yeah, that's what it was all meant to be,
Yeah. Well said, sir. Well, guys, before I give my final thoughts here, I just want to let people know that this is the Hair Metal Podcast on the Fandom Podcast Network. And if you're watching the YouTube video, go ahead and check out our QR code, take you to our main page there with all of our other awesome podcasts underneath the Fandom Podcast Network umbrella. We can be found, of course, on Fandom Podcast Network can be found on YouTube, X, Instagram, Facebook. We're also on Blue Sky, and you can follow us, the Hair Metal Podcast. Check out our Hair Metal Podcast Fandom Facebook group there. We're sharing all kinds of fun hair metal videos and pictures. Make sure you check that out. You can also find me. My name is Kevin. I am on Spartan_Phoenix on all of the socials. You can follow Hair Metal Podcast too on X at Hair Metal Cast, and email at hairmetalpodcast@gmail.com. And feel free to check us out on YouTube. Please subscribe and share out as well. First of all, I want to thank everyone here. Thank you guys for joining me. My co-host, Mike, of course. Thank you as always, brother. Nez, Dick, of course, are members of our Hair Metal Council. I love our text chains. They're very entertaining, and I've learned a lot about you guys. And Justin, thank you, our very special guest. You were there, man.
Yeah.
I hope you share your knowledge with many to come about this special event here, because you were at probably the most important metal event in history.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm forever grateful for it.
Awesome, man. Appreciate you. Well, guys, make sure, of course, follow us on the Fandom Podcast Network on YouTube, and check out our Hair Metal Podcast group, as I mentioned before. On behalf of my co-host Mike and our special guest, I'm Kevin. Join us again next time here on the Fandom Podcast Network for the next episode of the Hair Metal Podcast. We will tease our hair with that Aquanet, slip on those tight ripped jeans, leather pants, or lip service attire, and rock out in that leather motorcycle jacket. Remember, every rose has its thorn, and on a steel horse we will ride. Hair metal lives. Rock on, everybody.